We're live. Hey,
Hello.
everybody.
Hello, hello, hello.
Mike and Janelle Friedrich here, coming to you from our lovely headquarters. Marriage Ignite, where we ignite the passion, peace, and connection and help couples live out the Bible's blueprint for their marriage. So we're going to talk about something here about what a man really needs, okay, and how the wife can change the marriage without him even being on board. So you're like, this sounds good, Mike. This is sounding pretty interesting.
Yes. And this is such a huge topic. And this is a topic that comes up with couples that we're coaching, with women that we're coaching, with people that we're doing phone calls with. I mean, this comes up all the time where the woman she'll tell us that her husband complains that she doesn't honor and respect him. I want to say that again, because we hear this a lot where the husband is complaining all the time that he feels that he's not getting honor and respect from his wife. And so it's a really big topic. And so I want to share a scripture. So in Ephesians 5:22, the Apostle Paul instructs wives to submit to your husbands as to the Lord. Now, a few verses later, in verse 33, he says, let the wife see that she respects her husband. Now, I want to ask a question, because this is where, we can go in deep with this scripture, okay? And we're not going to on this particular live right now, but I want to point something out to you, and I want to ask you a question, because you might be feeling, well, what if he doesn't deserve it? What if he doesn't deserve to have honor and respect because he's not doing this, this, and this, or he should be doing this, this, and this? And the thought of the word submission literally makes your hair curl up. And, so you may not know what exactly the submission means. You may not understand. People get caught up in the word submit in this passage, worrying that it calls wives to submit to the man because they are lesser than or not equal to.
Right.
And so we don't believe in this concept of submission, okay? Because men and women are equals, period. Okay, because in fact, before these verses in Ephesians 5:21, Paul says, submit to one another in the fear of Christ. So that is where husbands submit to your wives, wives submit to your husbands. So what Paul is saying is to respect your husband like you would the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
This is about you becoming in having a personal relationship with the Lord, and you love and respect him. And so you should love and respect your husband like you would the Lord. Not the way that maybe your mother respected your father. And I want to say this one because maybe you didn't have an excellent example of growing up, right? Maybe there was something that you've seen on TV, or you see other friends doing things a different way. We're not saying that, because we know that most of us probably didn't come from, we didn't see, because I know for me, there was a lot of divorce in my family. And so we didn't see this growing up to have the respect, right? And for the wife to submit to the husband and the husband to submit to the wife, okay? But we must respect, or I must. So I want to talk to the women here for a minute, because this is mainly for the women, but I know that there's going to be some men that are going to be watching this too, because they're going to be curious. And you're probably thinking that, wow, we're not submitting to each other at all. We're not submitting to the Lord. We're not walking this out at all in our marriage, right? Because it's really about that we are to respect our husband the same way that we would respond to Jesus Christ.
Yes. And I guess, why is this so important? Other than why, because God told us to, but really it's because it's the number one need for men. Like, we run to a place where we feel honored, and we run away when we feel dishonored.
Mm-hmm.
It is what we call our mega need. And so something that you're going to hear often, or that we hear often, is that from wives, and wives will admit this to us, is that they will admit that they feel that their husband doesn't feel honored. And why is it that men feel this way? Well, here's the thing, and I remember reading this recently on a Facebook thread. These people were commenting about something, and I don't even remember what the topic was, but this woman had typed in all capital letters, well, the man needs to deserve my respect. And on the surface, it sounds like it makes sense. Like, yeah, okay, a man should like earn the respect of his wife. And I understand that. Like, but we're talking about the normal course of events. Like, I'm not talking about situations where men really do not deserve based on how they're treating their wife. But here's the thing. If a man must deserve the respect, if he must deserve respect to get it. So if I must work at, deserve it to get it, okay, I will resent it and refuse to perform for honor. However, when I receive honor from her, and it's undeserved respect, it endears me to her even more. And it causes me to perform at a higher level. And so here's the distinction that I want you to get. And this is all about grace versus law. Grace gives us what is undeserved. And our response to that is love. Law demands performance first. And when that's the case, our response becomes rebellion.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so why did we choose to do this live? You know, obviously it's been coming up a lot in our conversations that we're having with couples and the conversations that we're having with women. And I was like, okay, God, what are you saying here? And it's like, we want to bring to the light that this is a major issue in marriage. It's a major issue. And then and then things just kind of compile where then your communication is off, and then you feel like you're not getting love. He's not getting respect. You're on this like spin cycle, and then the communication is off. And the next thing you know, you're not on page in any area of your marriage at all. And so I want to do this. I want to ask 3 questions. So if you're watching this right now, and I want you to listen to these 3 questions, and are you doing them in your marriage right now? So the first one is do you find yourself getting upset every time that he does something wrong? So every time that your husband does something wrong, do you find him getting upset? Or maybe it's not even him doing something wrong. It's him not doing it the way you want it done.
You mean like vacuuming the table?
So, I mean, we have this like, it's really crazy, funny story, and we actually use it a lot because it's a really good one where we had bought a beautiful round table for our home, and Mike put it together. It was late at night. It's just gorgeous wood top, and we're getting ready. We're getting tired. We want to go to bed. And I look over and I see him vacuuming the top of the table with a vacuum, like a big normal size vacuum. He's vacuuming the table. Now I could have totally just flipped off the handle, and and just been like, okay. I mean, in his mind, he was like, this is the fastest way to get all those little white pieces of, what was it? Styrofoam, those little tiny white pieces.
Have you tried to pick those things up with your hand or a rag? No,
vacuum,
vacuum makes total sense.
And I literally heard in my spirit, don't say a word.
And I heard the Holy Spirit to say that too. That's how loud it was.
But this is such a good example of, I just sat quiet. I didn't say anything. And we continued. And I was like, I didn't even know if the table was all scratched up. I mean, he didn't sanitize the table afterwards. But I mean, this is one little small thing that can fly off the handle. Maybe you ask your husband to go to the grocery store, and you maybe do most of the grocery shopping, and you buy a certain kind of bread that you like. Well, he goes to the store, he gets a different kind of bread, and you're mad when he gets back from the store because it wasn't what you wanted, or it wasn't the type of bread that you normally like. Or, I mean, we're working with a couple right now that she would get upset every single morning because her husband would not make the kids' lunches the way that she wanted them made, but then also in a timely manner that she wanted them done. And I'm like, well, then why don't you just make the lunches? No, I mean, we had to really work on this one because again, I mean, we can go down the list of things. Do you get upset when he does something that maybe it's not done your way, or it's done what you perceive as being wrong, or maybe it's something that annoys you, like before you never cared that the toilet seat was up. Now it makes you angry when the toilet seat is up.
Well, here's what I want to say to that, because why are we talking about this particular issue is because, and here's sometimes we see this often where wives will complain that their men just kind of shrunk back and just kind of disconnected. And the reason why is because he's kind of throwing up his hand saying, I can't do it right. So I'm just going to retreat because I don't, what's the point?
Yeah.
Right?
He's like, I'm out. I can't do anything right. And every time I comment, every time I want to do something, every time I try to help, every time I want to fix something, I can't seem to do it right. And so he's just become super passive. He backs off. And the next thing you know, you're running the entire household, controlling the home, and you're angry because you feel he's not stepping up to the game.
Well, and whenever we get corrected, we feel a sense of shame, like we didn't do something right. Whether it's right or wrong, it's just how a lot of men are wired. And so we love to be the hero. When we don't feel like we're the hero and we're doing something wrong, we're just like, I'm not playing anymore, and we check out. And I'm speaking from experience. So I know how men feel because I was there.
Yeah. Well, and so let's talk about question number 2. So this one is, so I want you to really seriously think about that. Do you do this? And believe me, Mike and I share these things because we've walked through them in our relationship and we've helped a lot of people walk through them. So the second one is, do you finish his sentences and are constantly talking over him? And I was a hairstylist many years ago. I owned a hair salon. I love to talk, and I would finish his sentences. I would talk over him. He would be, to the point of he would be on the phone having a conversation with someone, and I would be telling him what to say. I would write down on a sticky note.
It was awesome.
What to say.
It was pretty awesome.
I would finish his sentences. We'd be in a conversation with another couple or a friend, and I would just take over because I believe that I tell the story better. Oh, now I know that some of you are thinking this is you and you're listening right now and you're like, oh my gosh, I do this all the time. And now you wonder why your husband never talks. You wonder why he never speaks up. You wonder why he never shares anything, right? And so is this something that you feel that you're doing on a daily basis, or even if it's weekly, whatever? Do you see yourself doing this? Because if so, then you are dishonoring and disrespecting your husband.
And again, we hear this a lot where my husband just won't talk. So I want you to ask yourself, is there a reason why?
And it could have happened. Sorry, go ahead. Well, and it could have happened where this happens slowly over time. Because, maybe he was a lot of times we hear women say, well, he used to talk all the time. Like when we first started dating or when we were first married, he would talk all the time and he would share things and we'd be in the car. And then now he doesn't say anything. And I was like, well, it probably is something that slowly happened over time where you just kind of jumped in all the time and finished his sentences or spoke over him or told him what to say or told him what to do, or you didn't like what he said or you didn't like what he did or whatever. And then it's turned into where your husband never speaks. Okay, so let's move on to number 3, because this is another one where do you control everything and make all of the decisions? And you really want your husband to, now, you don't want your husband to lead the home because Jesus is your leader. God is the leader of your home, right? At least he's the leader of our home. I want him to be a leader, of course, but I want him to be the loving initiator of the finances, of the kids, of a lot of the decision-making. I want him to step up and be the loving initiator of that, right? And so, which is a level of leadership. You want him to be the head, Jesus is the head, but then your husband, you want him to step up. And so, but do you feel like that you're making all of the decisions with the kids? Do you feel like that you aren't getting any help? You're frustrated. You're constantly arguing about finances. You're arguing about the kids' schedule. You're arguing about never seeing each other, never spending time together, never going out on date nights. You're not making your marriage a priority anymore. I can just go down the list because we know that, and we work with a lot of blended families too. 50% of marriages are blended families. And this is a constant strife. This is something that comes up all of the time where they can't seem to get on the same page with the kids. They can't seem to get on the page with the finances. They're arguing a lot about certain things. And so do you find yourself controlling the household? And so I want you to really think about all 3 of these questions, right? So the first question is, do you find yourself, the first question is do you get upset every time he does something wrong or that he doesn't do it your way? And then the second question is, Are you finishing his sentences and talking over him? And then the third question was, do you feel like you're making all of the decisions and kind of controlling the household? Because here's what happens if you're doing any of these. Not only is it causing major separation in your guys' marriage and causing more of a wedge and causing you to be further and further apart, but it's also leaving you exhausted. And I'm sensing that there are several of you that are listening right now and you are tired. You're so tired of fighting the battle. You're so tired of what's happening in your marriage, what's happening in your life, because when your marriage is out of whack, it affects every single area of your life. And I'm sensing, I'm hearing this right now, that there's many of you that are so tired. And a lot of you are probably even embarrassed, or you're like, well, on social media or at church or at my work or in our business, we look like we have it all together. And so we don't want people to know that there's any issues. Well, here's the thing is we all have issues. Let's just be real. We all have stuff going on. There is a lot of lifing around us right now. And it's like, I'm talking to two types of people right now. I'm talking to the people who your marriage is just falling apart and you're like, I am tired, I'm exhausted, I don't know what to do. Or you might even be where your marriage is like, you know what, it's okay. You're on autopilot. Maybe you're on autopilot. You're just going through the motions. It's not bad. It's not good, but it's not great. And you're like, we want some prevention. We want help. We work with a lot of couples that are like, you know what? We've got a call on our life. We have a call on our marriage. We have a marriage identity, which is a whole nother topic, having a marriage identity together for you to go out and to fight. You got to understand this. We're in a war right now. If you look at what's going on in our world right now, we are in a war, and it's important that you are more united as husband and wife than you've ever been before, and that you need some help getting united in every single area, and that you know that you can fight this battle together, and things might not be very bad, but you're like, you know what? I want more. I want more. I want to take my marriage to the next level. I want to go higher. I want to go deeper. I want to be able to fulfill the call that we have on our life. And the way to do that is that you need more tools. You need more tools in your tool belt. So not only do you need to be freed from some things, but also you need to have some tools and some skills and some strategies in your tool belt for you to go out and fight the fight that you need to fight. And so any of you that are watching right now and you're sensing in your heart, this is how a lot of people will feel when they know that they need to reach out to us, is your heart is racing. You've got this stirring in your belly, like it's stirring. Okay. And you're like, I need to do something now. I need to reach out to Mike and Janelle now. I need help now. And even if your spouse isn't on board right now, or doesn't want help, or you've talked about it and you don't want to do counseling and you don't want to do, right, all these things, even if, reach out, okay? Because we do work with just the women too. We work with couples, but we also work with just the women. So don't hold back. Don't waste another day. Time is too precious right now, right? We have a call. Every single one of us has a call in our life. And the time that you are not getting this fixed and that you're not working on your marriage, it's time to step up. Let's just say that, because that's a whole nother training in itself, is it's time to step up and go, you know what? I want to do whatever it takes to save the marriage. I want to do whatever it takes to take the marriage to the next level. Anything you want to say?
Well, I will say one last thing, because this gal had mentioned this to us a little while back, and it's something that I think a lot of maybe women feel, is that if I reach out, then I've got to admit something's wrong, or that what will people think? The what will people think is maybe the biggest reason why you're in the situation you're maybe feeling in right now. Who cares what people think? Like Janelle said, we're all dealing with stuff. And the longer that we hold things in, we pretend like nothing's wrong. We look on social media, it looks like everyone else's life is perfect, and we compare everyone else's life on social media to our life. We're just going to be waiting for our life to get better, which is the worst possible strategy. So reach out. You know that there's that stirring in your heart, and there's that conviction, and you're like, you know what? I know that my family deserves better. I know that the legacy of my kids' future is dependent on how my husband and I, or my wife and I, demonstrate. Because here's the thing, marriage isn't taught most of the time. Most of the time it's caught, and our kids are watching everything that we're doing, even when we don't think they're watching. Can't tell you how many times our kids have like said things that we're like, okay. So reach out. All right. And if honor and respect are man's greatest need, like, does he get that from you? Does he get that? And regardless of whether you think he deserves it or not, this is the one thing that I guarantee can transform any marriage quicker than anything that I know. So with that, God bless. Send us a message, or you can click on the link below to schedule a call with us. And we look forward to connecting with you soon. All right, everybody, have a great day.